right. All right, everyone. Welcome to the virtual public board meeting for Brentwood-Darlington Neighborhood Association, July 2nd, 2020. We are doing our 2-month postponed elections with the help of Leah Fisher from Southeast Uplift. And I am Chelsea Powers. I'm your current chair. And welcome everyone, especially our new neighbors. Feel free to put yourself on video if you want, and there will be open time for announcements and things like that. And we're going to go ahead and move along. A reminder that we're doing virtual meetings. This is kind of a standard slide I have every month. You can view these slides at brentwood-darlington.org/about/public-records, or the link at the bottom of that slideshow there. And just a little about what we're doing and how to stay up to date. And that reminder that it's elections tonight, the link is there. I'm also posting it frequently in the chat. I know it's different strings and numbers for the links, but they go the same place. Go ahead and take a look at our agenda. You can download this at that same public records on our website. And we're gonna, we would normally start with Learning Gardens Lab. I don't see Luke yet, but I know he's coming, so I will go ahead and do their announcement and we'll move forward. The big announcement from Learning Gardens Lab is that they're doing a harvest share of the week, and for $25 you get a selection of locally grown veggies. Sometimes there's fruit and flowers. There's a sample box there and information. These links are all live on the slideshow linked on our website. You can also go to learning-gardens.org to view the information. A note on this: as part of our Bdna contribution to the neighborhood, we are buying 4 shares of this at a weekly price of $25.63 with the fees. And it goes to a neighbor in need, and Learning Garden Lab distributes that for us, so it doesn't take any extra Bdna volunteer work. Reminder that Leach Botanical Gardens is doing their spring garden celebration, and they have all of those tea boxes. And I noticed there's also like some gardening kits and things. So you can support Leach without getting infected by viewing those great things online. Updates on schools. We're going to have a conversation later about about possibly renaming some of our neighborhood schools. But just as a general update, a reminder that meal services are happening at neighborhood schools. Ours is Woodmere. They are furloughing lots of staff, so meal service is only Monday through Wednesday. And on Wednesday, they give you meals for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I believe through the weekend. But the problem is if you miss the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday window, you are out of luck for meals for the rest of the week. So there are alternatives through some of the Portland Parks and Rec programs, but I did not see the details on that before this meeting. I just know that that program recently reopened. A reminder about our Amplify Black Neighbors series that's been happening in June. I'm finishing out a full 4 weeks with it, so it'll wrap up on July 5th, and then I'll post on July 6th a page that links to everything and has it all chunked out so you can access it all in one place. So, but in the meantime, that is a daily feature on our website, and I'm going to end it with an extra special post about an in-neighborhood person. We found somebody who's actually like a neighbor in the neighborhood to feature, so that's really exciting. So it's going to be our wrap-up one. So, any questions? All right.
So, Chelsea?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Stephanie. I don't want to lose sight of the things that you've been doing. So in addition to the Black Lives Matter and buying the CSAs from Learning Garden Labs. Would you please say the other things that you're doing?
Oh, well, like,
Please.
you mean like free bread?
Well, but you're also working with the pantry, right? And the
Yeah.
gift cards and so on?
Yeah, so we've for the spending money in the neighborhood, we've been doing gift cards. We did this week we did an emergency $100 gift card for a neighbor experiencing a severe hardship, who was about to be evicted and was out of diapers and things like that. So I've been volunteering with the Woodmere Food Pantry, which is another thing neighbors should know about. It happens weekly on Wednesday. I believe they run from about 10:30 to 12:30, and that's open to pretty much everyone. It's mostly produce from Imperfect, but Mackenzie has been keeping it going over the summer. But because of when the time is, we don't normally get, we can't include the bread that we would normally get from Grand Central. So I've been picking that up on Wednesdays at 3 and distributing it outside of my house. And this week I schemed with another neighbor on Southeast 78th, Kristen, to offer 2 locations. We split the bread and we group bought some bulk eggs and potatoes and things like that. And we encourage neighbors to bring extras from their pantry, and we held 2 pop-up pantries on Wednesday. And so we're gonna continue doing that and see how it grows. I've been doing the newsletter, the website, the email, the Facebook. If you see something online, it's likely I posted it. So love it or hate it, you can blame me. I think that's it, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, Chelsea, for doing all that.
Well, we have to say thank you to you as well, though, because you've been maintaining land use and transportation. And we got to say thank you to Lynn because she's been an amazing treasurer. And that brings us to our Thank You 2019-20 board members, where I want to specifically shout out Stephanie for land use and transportation. You guys do not have any idea how much time she puts in, and you don't have to clap, but you can go be like, woo! And yeah, Leah. So I'd also like to shout out Lynn, our treasurer, who is amazing and keeps our books going. And I see Gail there in the chat. Hi, Gail. I want to shout out Gail. She keeps Movies in the Park going and keeps a good eye on our parks and is our longest standing board member at this point. And I want to shout out to Tina, who's been an amazing cleanup chair despite all sorts of speed bumps. And shout out Pam, who's been our Southeast Uplift rep and has really kept an eye on our air quality things, especially. Let's see, who else can I shout out here? Shannon's not in the chat yet. She may not join us. Baby was not kind to her and she was up until 2. So she won, but I believe she was going to send her candidacy through the forms. But shout out to her. She championed the resource guide and has been an amazing vice chair. Esther's not here because she's working, but she was our schools rep for a while. Meg, who kept our equity and inclusion going, and they're not here, but we have also to thank Derek, Malcolm, and Garrick for their service on the board this year. All right. I'm going to move us forward unless anybody has any questions or wants to stop, because I have a feeling we would all enjoy going to bed or getting off this meeting a little early tonight. All right. Really fast. I only have 1 slide of Bdna Year-in-Review. I'm not going to torture you. I just want to shout out all the things we did before COVID shut us down. First and foremost, of course, is the trilingual resource guide that took so much time and was so worth it and is so beautiful. And I still have copies if anybody still needs one. Then we had our first e-recycling. That was Tina's awesome idea. You can see Esther there with the TV she finally got to get rid of. You can see we participated in more solemn things like the Rite of Silence, honoring Lance T. Hart, who was a cyclist killed by a motorist in our neighborhood. We did things like partner with the community orchard and learning garden to help with food scarcity. We held, amazingly, quite a few events, 3 of them related to, two of them related to city government. We had our meeting on Code Change 3.96, as well as the candidate conversation for candidates for city commissioner. We also hosted a renters' rights workshop with the Community Alliance of Tenants and Southeast Uplift. And then we had, of course, some of our favorite fun annual events like Movies in the Park, where we offered our first net table. Thank you, Nancy, from the Neighborhood Emergency Team, for bringing that stuff out. And we had the PDX Avengers come to our 5th annual Bdna Spooktacular. So we did a lot of fun stuff. We had some interesting events, and I want to just shout out all the board members who were here that made it happen. Woo! Any questions?
No, I don't have any, but thank you for this review. It's sort of easy to lose track lately of what's happened in the past. Seems like we're in another world now. The past seems very far away, so it's very nice to see this beautiful slide here and show what all we actually did.
I was a little surprised that this was all in the last 12 months. I was scrolling back and I'm like, really? Really? That was that recently? Yeah. Because it feels like time is just a mystery, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Chelsea, can I also add that Southeast Uplift, your neighborhood, all of you work so hard and you do such amazing events. And so seeing it all here, I also had the same thought, like, oh my gosh, you did all of this in the last year. That's so impressive. And Southeast Uplift was inspired by your resource guide, which is what motivated us to kind of organize and do as much translation as we did for our newsletter that went out as well, because we really liked how you laid out and like really made all of the different languages a priority instead of, having an English one and then an all translated. So we really liked that. So we copied you all. And so, yeah, just very impressive, all the work you've done, everyone has done over the last year.
Yay! I'm really glad. We were, what is it? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So we will take the compliment, and we like the making every language a priority format. It shows that all of the languages are important. All right, anything else before we move on? All right. Normally at our elections, we would have printed copies and you could flip through the bylaws and read them yourself. But this is not a normal election. So I've pulled the relevant sections of our bylaws regarding elections. And there's also at our website, Brentwood-Darlington.org/about, you can scroll to the very bottom and there's our current bylaws along with the amendments that happened. So our bylaws are from 2010 and the amendment happened in 2013, which lowered quorum to 5 from 7. And I did note that in the review. All right. Everybody doing okay? All right, let's move on. Quick review of our boundaries. That is a lot of gobbledygook to say. We end at Duke on the north, 82nd on the east, 45th on the west, and the Clackamas County line Clatsop Wiggly Bits on the south. And if you're not sure what neighborhood you're in, go to portlandmaps.com and it will tell you. Anybody who lives, works, owns property, has a business license, or ascribes to the Bdna is considered voting membership within the boundaries there.
But actually, Chelsea, the bylaws say that to be a member, each individual has to say that they will be a member. You're not automatically a member just by living here. I just looked at this the other day and I was very surprised to see that. I mean, it's a very small formality, but nevertheless.
And the reason for that, Stephanie, is because a lot of times the bylaws require that a candidate gets at least 50% of the membership present. And so if everyone's a member, but only 20 people show up to vote, then no candidate would ever get elected. And so that's why it's eligibility for membership is what Chelsea was describing. And then people actually have to declare they're a member and then vote. That makes sense.
They declare themselves members and then vote. Is that it? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Excellent question. Thank you for clarifying that, Leah. So let's see. Any other questions on membership and boundaries? All right. Next is the board of directors, and this just kind of explains the structure of our board. I have there the section that was amended by our 2013 bylaws. And so it shows that we can have at least 5 and no more than 21. Only persons eligible for membership, as described before, are eligible. And the board members shall be elected annually. We had to shift the meeting this year because of unexpected circumstances with the blessing of Southeast Uplift. And then there's just a quick duties of board members so you know what our bylaws actually state. And I'm going to leave this up for a minute and let everybody kind of have a second with it because I know I went through it quickly. So I'm going to give you a full minute to read this without me talking. Okay, everybody ready? All right. The next section talks about how election of board officers is handled. With discussion with Leah, after discussion with Leah, we'll do the election of the board officers at the July 21st all committees meeting, since that's a already regularly scheduled meeting. And those officers are elected by the board members you elect tonight. Do I have that correct, Leah?
Yeah, appointed usually is how it goes. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
So we have 4 elected officers. We have the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and the treasurer. You can see the duties up there. And for a little bit more on what those entail, you can look at our website. If you search elections, there are many, many posts about Bdna elections and available positions and how to join. I'll give everybody a minute on this. And neighbors who are not board members, or this may be your first meeting, you can absolutely unmute and ask questions. You can raise your hand using the raise your hand function or on camera, and we will do our best to see you and get you your questions answered. You have every right to speak and have opinions here, just so you know. All right, let's go ahead and move to the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Leah to kind of talk about how the election's going to run and to ask for any questions. I see Gail's having some technical difficulties, but she's hanging on there in the chat. So we'll have to work with that. So,
ask a question quickly? Hi.
Hi. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Maria. This is my first meeting. Nice to meet you all. I have been to the Land and Transportation Committee, but never to this one. I never was able to do it. And so for me, a Zoom meeting is actually very handy because I'm wrangling toddlers in the background at the same time. This is why I'm unmuted and just have now a chance to ask a question. I don't think I'm officially a member, and I think you guys talked about that. How can I become a member of the Brentwood-Darlington Neighborhood Association? Is there a form that I have to fill out, or?
Leah, will you take that one?
Yeah, I can take that one, sure. Welcome, Maria. Welcome.
Hi.
Happy to have you. I have some toddlers in the background too, so I think a lot of us are balancing many things right now. So the criteria that Chelsea went over was the eligibility criteria. So if you live in the boundary she described or live, own property, or have a business, and it's actually even more loose than that because they'll take in others. But if you live within the boundary, then
I do.
Eligible to be a member, and as part of the election form, you'll be asked to declare that you're a member. So it's just a checkbox. And so everyone's eligible to be a member. And the only reason, like I said, that people aren't just automatically members is because when you come to an election, if a candidate needs 50% or more of the vote and the majority of the neighborhood isn't showing up, then nobody would ever get the over 50%. And so that's the only reason why that exists.
So I can consider myself a member?
Once you check yourself, yep, you're a member for that meeting.
Right.
So yes, super easy, low barriers.
Good. Thanks.
Good question.
Awesome. Thank you. That was a great question. Any other questions for Leah?
And I can explain quickly the process for tonight if you want me to, Chelsea.
Yes, please. I'm going to let you just take over. Let me know if you want me to click anything.
Yeah, okay, well, thanks. Well, thank you everyone for being here. This is definitely a new normal, and probably for the foreseeable future we're gonna get my family's coming in the door over here, so apologize for the noise. Yeah, online meetings are gonna be pretty commonplace for the foreseeable future. So we're trying to get creative with it. But for elections, I have helped with a few. And what we have found that works pretty well is we'll give you, all the candidates that are interested in becoming board members, an opportunity to just share for a couple minutes about themselves, why they want to be a board member, maybe what their interests are. And then that will give all the folks online tonight an opportunity to get to know who the candidates are. While people are declaring their candidacy, I also would like for you to type in your full name. So I will add all of the candidates to a ballot that I have drafted up. The ballot is going to ask you your address or your cross street, your name, your email, and then it's going to ask you to declare that you're a member, and then you'll go ahead and vote. I'm going to paste it into the link in the meeting tonight because I know if you're anything like me, you'll turn your computer off and completely forget about it. So go ahead and vote, just right away after we hear from all the candidates. And then we're gonna go ahead and leave the ballot open for 24 hours because that's the maximum amount of time we can leave it open. So if you are familiar with neighbors that were interested in attending but couldn't make it, you can share the ballot with them. They'll have until 7 p.m. tomorrow night to vote. I know Chelsea had asked for folks to declare candidacy in advance so she could get some candidate statements to share out so people who may not be able to attend tonight can have some understanding of who the candidates are. I know at some of the other elections, people who were not at the meeting did end up voting later, and they really only voted for the candidate that they knew, so they didn't feel comfortable voting for other folks, but they voted for the person that they knew best. So I think that's totally fine as well. So yeah, that'll remain open. If you know folks that don't have an email access and don't have access to the online form, Stephanie has so graciously offered to provide a in-person ballot that you or neighbors can stop by and fill out a paper ballot. And that will be available, what time did, I think 10 to 2 or what, Stephanie, remind me the time frame?
I have no idea. I don't remember. And I also, somehow I've lost my view of the screen, and I'm all screwed up here, and I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
And I don't know how to get out so I can get back in. I'm going to just try to cancel everything. I'm going away for a moment.
Okay.
I'm sorry about this.
Well, hey, Stephanie, before you go away, are you comfortable with 10 to noon for tomorrow?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes,
Why don't we
absolutely.
set
Absolutely.
that time. So if you do know someone that doesn't have, because in order to use Google Forms, you do need to have an email address, and not everybody has an email address. So if they don't feel comfortable filling out an online ballot, they're welcome to go in person to Chelsea's home to Stephanie's home and fill that ballot out from 10 to 2 tomorrow. And then after the voting period closes at 7 p.m. Friday, and we get the ballots from Stephanie, if there are any, then I will go ahead and tally that up on Monday evening and provide you all with the results. And I'll also do a quick check, like gut check, that nobody's voted twice and that people are living within the boundaries and that everyone's declared they're a member. So the ballot is pretty straightforward. There's 21 open positions, so I don't anticipate there's going to be an issue with some people not making it. If you're interested, then go ahead and vote, or go ahead and submit your candidacy, and unless most likely you'll make it. So yeah, that's it from me. So I suppose Chelsea can confirm when the results will be shared out, but I won't be able to get those to you all until Monday evening.
I will share out the results basically as soon as I can after I get them from you. So we could say probably Tuesday.
Okay, great. And any questions about the process?
So Leah, if I understand correctly, you're saying that you're going to provide the ballot shortly in the chat, and we can either fill it out now during the meeting or online until 7 p.m. tomorrow. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I know you mentioned
And then how will,
isn't here.
okay, so I can't see the chat. I can't see anything. And I will need to get a copy of this empty ballot, right?
Yes.
Can you help me with that, Chelsea, after the meeting?
Yes, I'll make sure that I follow up with you and Leah on that.
Okay,
And
thank
I mean,
you so
it's
much.
up
So
to
sorry.
all of you if you want to send out the voting link to that smaller group of people who on your listserv or whatnot as well. That's up to you. If you want to just provide it to people who request it, or people who share it, that's fine as well. I know that there's a lot of concern around hacking and things like that, so it's really up to you.
We could probably safely share it on some of the neighborhood Facebook groups that are closed down and have requirements that you have to verify your residency in the neighborhood with the admins.
Okay.
So that's, if board members would like to do that, this has been advertised heavily to them, so it might be worth following up with the ability to vote for those who couldn't attend. And I can post the link of this meeting video with it, because I think I figured out that aspect of Zoom finally.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions before we hand it off to the candidates? Okay. Do we have anyone participating by phone today? Did you? I don't think so, but
I think that Gail's by phone. She's in the, Gail's in the chat and unable to do video or sound. So we'll have to be Gail's microphone. But it looks like everybody else at least has the ability.
Okay. Tina looks like she said she's on her phone as well. And so, yes, so definitely if folks are on the phone, they would not be able to vote via the link because they're not going to be able to access that on their phone. From my understanding, I guess unless they're on a smartphone. I'm talking about people that are just straight up calling in on a phone without, not through the Zoom app or anything like that. So if you can't access the voting link, definitely check in with me or Chelsea, and it sounds like it's going to be sent out as well. and you have 24 hours. Okay. So I think Richard is also saying that he's having some trouble.
That's Gail. I went ahead and changed her so you know who it is.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Okay, great. Gail. Okay, I see that. Okay, so yes, if Chelsea, if that's the next step, do we want folks to go ahead and share a few words about themselves and why they're interested in being on the board?
I think that's where we're at, and I can go first if nobody else wants to.
Go for it.
All right.
I'll share
Chelsea
this.
Powers, I'm the chair. I'm running again. I don't really see why not to. I mean, here, let me do a little better than that. I've been on the board for 5 years, and we've done some amazing projects. We've gotten sidewalks. We've done a resource guide. We've thrown out a ton of fun events. And someday, when we're allowed to be in person again, we can do it again. So until then, I'm just trying to keep things chugging here. And so I'm running again.
Hooray.
Big relief.
Okay.
I have to admit, I was definitely waffling.
Oh, I don't want to hear that.
Well, let's see. Let's do the classroom version. Whoever goes gets to pick next. So Stephanie, you're up next.
Okay, let's see. I'm Stephanie Frederick, and I'm the chair of the Land Use and Transportation Committee. And I would like to remain on the board because I am really proud to be working with all of you, and so glad to be part of our group. And I love land use and transportation. I'm learning so much about the city of Portland. So I would like to remain and continue my work on land use, and then in whatever other ways I can help with events and so on. That's it.
Great, you get to pick who's next.
Okay, Pam.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pam Hodge, and I was born and raised in Brentwood-Darlington, gone for many years, and came back 8 years ago to care for an elderly parent. I have served on the board for 3 years and as the representative to Southeast Uplift for the last year. And during those times, I think I've participated in most of the Brentwood-Darlington Neighborhood Association events. For a while, I was knocking on doors, sort of at the unofficial welcome wagon. I served on the Parks Citizens Advisory Committee for developing the Earl Heights Park. And for about 2.5 years, I served on a Citizens Advisory Committee on studying air quality for precision cast parts with the Oregon Health Authority. And I'm just interested in making Brentwood-Darlington a better place to live, particularly with respect to all the necessities of life like clean air, clean water, good education, and a healthy place to live. In a nutshell.
Thank you, Pam.
Pam, go ahead and choose who's next. It looks like Tina has her hand raised and Gail has her virtual statement in the comments.
Tina, I guess you're next.
Hi, I'm Tina, and this is my 3rd time of running to be on the board. I'm wanting to be a part of the board because I'm pretty driven for community-driven collection events. Hence, I headed up the start of the e-cycling last fall and am working hard to potentially have a collection event come September for more than e-cycling.
Thank you, Tina. Hooray.
Who's next?
You have to choose.
It looks like Gail's next. I'll go ahead and read her statement, Tina. I won't make you choose since you can't really see anybody on your screen. Gail says, I've been a board member since 1992. I've been on the board since 1997. I love our parks. I will serve respectfully submitted, Gail Keeley. So, poor Gail. Zoom does not like her. It behaves worse for her than me. Do we have any other neighbors? Lynn, were you interested in continuing on?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Lynn Reck. I'm the current treasurer. I have been the treasurer for 2 years now. I'm running again, and I think I've been in the neighborhood for about 25 years, and I would love to help out in the financial aspect of the board so the members can kind of do the work that is necessary. Yep, I'll be running again.
Lynn undersells herself. She has been a huge asset to our financial stability and transparency. So we're excited she's running again.
Thank you, Lynn. Wow.
All right, neighbors, let's see, Leah, we have some new neighbors here that I don't know if they want to run or not, or if they would like to speak. Do you want to take that aspect of things?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it looks like, oh, Stephanie, do you have a question or?
Let the residents go first, but then I have something I'd like to say.
Does any of the other participants want to step in and declare candidacy? Do you have questions for any of the candidates? Any questions about what it's like to be a board member? Nope, that's okay. And I think it's also important and worth noting, especially for folks that might be attending their first meeting, that there's definitely ways to get involved that don't require you being a board member. As you saw the previous slide, there's a lot of different activities going on at the board, especially Bdna. And so if you want to help out with certain projects, or if you have a project that you're interested in, Bdna is pretty strategic about what they do throughout the year, which is really awesome because it helps them manage their workload, although they're still doing quite a lot. But you can always check in with the board and say, hey, I'm interested in this topic. Does it tie into any of the work that you're doing? How can I support it? Who could I connect with? So you don't have to be a board member to engage with the neighborhood association and with your neighbors. A great example, one of the neighborhood associations I work with, Buckman, there's one long-standing non-board member that's, I think, been working with the board. I always get her confused because she seems like a board member, but she's not, but she's just been super involved for probably 20 years. So she's a great example of someone who's not necessarily a board member, but very involved. So with that, I just want to make sure that I've got everyone on the ballot before I link to it. Chelsea, do you know if Esther or who is the other? I see your face, but I can't think of her name.
Shannon, yes. I have not heard from Esther or Meg.
Oh yeah, or Meg.
I believe Meg might be taking a year off. She has had some medical issues with some extended family where she's been traveling extensively. So I would suspect that maybe she's going to take a little break.
Okay, so you said you haven't heard from Esther, but do you know if Shannon is running again?
Shannon did want to run for board member at large, and but she was up till 2 with Junie, and
fair. I'm gonna
and she kept falling asleep whenever she sat down, so she may have fallen asleep.
What is her last, how do you spell her last name?
Kane, Kane. I'll type it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. So I will add her, but I will not add Esther, and we could look at the bylaws again, but I'm sure you're allowed to add board members throughout the year. Most bylaws allow for that. And
yeah, I believe we have to have a unanimous vote of the board to add a board member post elections, if I remember correctly.
Great. Okay, Shannon Kane. Okay.
Oh, and it looks like Esther is not rejoining the board.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, let me just read off the names.
That Stephanie has her hand raised before you go on.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Gary Kransky submitted an email 39 minutes ago. I'd like to read it.
Okay.
All, I never came back to a meeting of this group after the way you choose to treat the director of the Office of Community and Civic Life, Sukri. As you work to uplift Black voices during current events, I encourage you to also reach out to established community-based organizations that represent communities of color and initiate some listening sessions, period, especially on the subject of systematic disenfranchisement of people of color in Portland. given BDNA actions against the recent code change proposal led by people of color, I'd say your actions speak louder than your words on the topic of racial justice. Regards, Garrick.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Does anyone have any thoughts or just want to process that for a bit?
I myself think very poorly of this communication, given the ways in which Chloe Udele and Sukri behaved towards us, both in person and in the ways they sought to disenfranchise the neighborhood associations. So I am very sorry that he wrote this email, and I couldn't disagree with it more.
Okay.
Gail has a comment that she disagrees with Garrett completely. She read that too, and she agrees with Stephanie.
Well, I guess I would like to add that I had no idea that Garrick felt that way, and I wish that he had come to a meeting and shared his concerns so they could have been addressed before now.
I think the first part was more accurate, Pam. You wished he had come to a meeting.
Right, we never, I mean, it would have been nice to have been involved in, or to know and have him come to meetings. He didn't really come to meetings or events.
No, he didn't participate with us.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that?
No, but I guess he's not running to be a board member again.
Yes, yeah. I had assumed that after he stopped showing up 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, with that, maybe we should have saved that till after the election, I feel like. But okay, given that, I'm gonna go ahead.
Honesty about NAs not always agreeing within their ranks is probably the better way to go, though. The transparency that neighbors don't always get along, but we do accomplish a lot of stuff in spite of that, as shown by the slideshow there, that, you know, we may not always agree or get along, but we do get a lot done. So just, I think honesty in how NAs work is important.
Okay, sorry, I got a little bit distracted with my technology. Okay, so I'm gonna read back the names of the folks that are running currently. And as Chelsea mentioned, other folks can join with the unanimous vote of the board. Powers, Hodge, Stephanie Frederick, Shannon Kane, Linda, ooh, I'm not gonna pronounce your last name right. And then Gail Kylie. Is that everybody? No one was missed. Okay. Oh, I see Nancy. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab the link. I'll post it in the chat here. I will mute myself because it's
Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
all right, posted.
Leah, do you see Gail's comment?
Let me check. Gail, Malcolm Hancock can't Zoom or Facebook. Okay, so for Malcolm Gail, he can go to Stephanie's house. And I hope I spelled Stephanie's last name right. Let me see. Frederick, okay. Stephanie's house will have a in-person 10 a.m. to 12 Friday. Stephanie, would you type your address in again for us? I know I have it in my email, if you're able to. Also, I mean, if Malcolm has an email, he can also do that because he doesn't need Zoom or Facebook to access the link. It's a Google form, so it just asks for an email. And if you didn't know, Zoom also does not require you to have email. Okay, well, then even more reason, Gail, if he's out of town till Monday, but he's able to access the internet and go on via email, then he can also vote by tomorrow at 7 p.m.
So Leah, did you say that you had posted it already?
I hadn't posted it already because I didn't know who all was running. So,
I see. Sorry.
So no, that's okay. I mean, I could have, I suppose, posted a draft, but and then so Chelsea is gonna send it out. The reason that Southeast Uplift created the form is that it will remain anonymous, so I'll have access to the information. And what I'll do after the voting closes is that I'm able to add up the results and then separate that from the folks who attended. So I will be sharing, you know, the sign-in information with the neighborhood association, because if this were an in-person meeting, you'd be asked to, you know, provide your name, your email, your address, and then declare you're a member. So I will cut that out and I'll provide that to the board, and then, you know, take out the how people voted.
Okay, so the voting link was just posted by Chelsea, so we can vote now.
I posted it into the chat, so yeah, go ahead and vote now if you'd like.
You didn't actually, you sent it to me, Leah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I retyped everything and put it out because mine won't let me copy for some reason.
Well, chat to everyone. Sorry, I don't know how that happened. Zoom.
I'll give everybody a minute to look at that link and access before I move on.
See, how do we access it?
Should just be able to click on the link, Stephanie, and it'll open up a Google form voting.
Oh, I see. I beg your pardon. Okay.
And let me know, it's been checked, but you know, something could have fallen through the cracks, but it should have the correct, you know, responses. Like you should be able to select multiple.
It worked just fine for me. I tested it before I reposted it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And neighbors who are not running for the board, you also can click on that and vote. So in the chat, I see Emily, Josh, Maria, and Siri and Nancy. You all can also access that link and vote for board members. And I will post on our website and social media the information about in-person voting and to our closed groups, I mean, about in-person voting. All right. And Emily, I did also have to remove it from my phone number. I think that's because it's looking for a number and not free text. All right, Leah, are you okay if we move on as people continue to vote? Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. That was less painful than expected. Let's see. Oh, I'm totally going the wrong way in the spreadsheet or in the slideshow. Sorry about that. I'm running with two different systems here. Okay, our next topic of discussion is neighbor interest in changing the name for Lane Middle School and Whitman Elementary. Many of you may have read the articles about Lane County looking to change their name because of the racist history of Joseph Lane. So who our Lane Middle School is named after. And while looking into that further, we discovered that Marcus Whitman also has a questionable past and their stories overlap as well. And neither of them are good figures to have our schools named after, especially in such a diverse community. So I do know from what other neighbors have said that there was a student movement at Lane to change the name a few years ago. I'm trying to track down who those kids were or what the movement was so that we can pick up where they left off and make sure that they're included if they want to be, or they can still lead it if they'd like to. But I've had a couple of neighbors message and email Bdna asking if we would consider taking up the mantle of working on getting the names changed. There is precedence for this. There's a lot of movement in Portland to change names of schools that are named after people who owned slaves or committed genocide or things like that. So I'm going to open that up for discussion.
Well, I am an alum of Lane when it was K-8, and I never liked the name, and I like it a lot less now that I'm reminded of its history. So I haven't given a lot of thought to renaming it, but some things that came to the top of my mind were maybe Learning Garden School or Brentwood-Darlington Village School, or let the students name it. But I think it should be changed, and the same for Whitman.
Any other comments, questions?
I agree with Pam. I would like to see the name changed. I think it's time to change the look of our country. We're acknowledging the wrong parts of our past. We need new symbols, new names, new words.
Neighbors. Oh, yes, Siri, please go ahead.
I was wondering if are there any voices in the neighborhood or the city that are pushing back to keep these names?
This would be something we would have to take up with Portland Public Schools. And I do not know how easy the process will be. I do know that a lot of schools are pushing for it right now. But with our experience with PPS, things are not always as easy as they could, should, or would be. No pushback yet, as far as we haven't started to push forward yet. But I have not seen a lot of pushback regarding naming schools that have an obvious reason to be renamed. And Gail's comment that talking to PPS is like chewing rocks is pretty on point there. And I see Josh in the chat would also be in favor of changing the names. I know that some students in the neighborhood are also in favor. So good question. Any other questions from neighbors? Emily, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, hi. I'm actually a PPS teacher, but at Hosford, not at Lane. And so I'm wondering like how you can get the school community involved, because I think I know that Wilson High School is also trying to change their name currently and have been for a few years, quite unsuccessfully. But I think building the momentum with the families and the neighborhood is that critical point of like, but the people want this and we need to do something to actually do it.
I agree. That's why we want to start with reaching out to the students who were originally trying to work on it and make it a community-based project. So we would love more neighbor involvement, since cool. I've seen that this is something that neighbors are interested in. This would be a great project for us to work on while we all can't get together in person.
Yeah.
So, awesome. Yeah, and if you know students at Lane who might be interested in working on this, or at Whitman, or parents or families, or just neighbors, definitely let's invite them to the BDNA, and let's make this a topic of our next committee's meeting, and try to have more information and next steps by then. Does that seem reasonable? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, seeing thumbs. Thanks all. Any other questions, comments, discussion on this? I like that there's not a lot of pushback on renaming things to make our world a little bit better. So awesome. Okay, let's move to our next topic. Hey, it's the treasurer's report. Yay, Lynn, it's your turn.
Okay, all right, so we didn't have a lot of transactions this month. We started off with 8,532 in the checking account. We had some Learning Garden Labs neighborhood support, harvest shares, also a grocery outlet gift cards, all part of the COVID-19 neighborhood support that we're doing currently. With all those transactions, we end up with, and forecasted expenses, we end up with about $8,647. And so far we have used, let's see, we had approved $1,200 for the neighborhood support, and so far we've used everything except $639. So we still have a little bit that we can, you know, provide for the neighborhood. So that's it.
Awesome, thank you, Lynn.
Sure, you're welcome.
Neighbors, if you have thoughts on where we should be directing those funds we approved, I definitely am open to that. I am going to post a comment in the chat from Luke at Learning Garden, and then I'll read it out for those who can't see the chat. He says, LGL wants to thank BDNA for their support of the Harvest Share fundraiser. We have distributed to families the past 2 weeks and an individual on foot the first week. So it would be nice to continue supporting the fundraiser there, if that's okay with board members. And that's going straight back into the neighborhood in multiple ways. And I'd love ideas for other places to get gift cards, or if you're willing to pick a gift card up and or purchase one online or something like that, take initiative, let me know. All right, any questions on the treasurer's report before we move forward? Okay.
Chelsea,
I know they Southeast, oh, go ahead, Stephanie.
sorry, yeah. If we were to pick up a gift card from somewhere, would we just bring it to you? Is that the idea?
So if it is a physical gift card, you can drop it off to me, but you would send your receipt to Lynn for reimbursement. If it's a digital gift card, we can usually email it directly, but I do have cards made by Gail, and I can mail them or porch drop to whatever or whoever is in need of that
I
assistance.
see, okay, but I clearly am falling behind in this world of technology. I wasn't aware of digital gift cards, so, okay.
I've
I'll talk with,
using some myself, so not
Yeah.
everyone has them.
oh, okay, all right, I'll talk with you about it later, thanks.
Okay. All right, any other questions on treasurer's report or what we've been doing for our spending? I see Derek's joined the meeting. Hi, Derek.
Hey, Derek.
Pam, I know Southeast Uplift hasn't met yet, so you can just, if there's anything to report, I just left the slides in.
No, I gave a detailed report last month, and Southeast Uplift will be meeting again on Monday. So I will have more to report on our August meeting.
Awesome. So view Pam's slide from last month and look forward to her excellent report next month. Oh, wrong way. Land use, transportation. Stephanie, you're up.
Okay, I just have a few items. I'll be putting out a report for July next week, and then eventually I want to start having some little Zoom meetings so we can talk about future advocacy and local problems and so on. Quickly, the Ogden App Greenway, we asked PBOT to try to keep the east-west Greenway through Brentwood-Darlington on Ogden Street and go run through Brentwood Park instead of going south and around the whole park school block and out on Knapp. And the ultimate reason for that is that if the Greenway remains on Knapp, it comes out at 45th, right on the edge of the southeast uplift, and it's not really that safe in the opinion of a few people, including Matthew, our cycling guru, Matthew Williams. We'd rather that it come out on Ogden, which is another block further north, and then that gives cyclists and motorists much more room in which to see one another as cyclists are crossing 45th. But we've come into this, well, and we also requested, that the bikeway go across Brentwood Park and come out where the Learning Garden Lab's new gate is. And we thought that if the Greenway could go through there, it would be very nice. It would serve Lane students, or I should say the middle school students, better, and it's kind of a nice unity there of the Greenway and the park, and then the Learning Garden Lab gate. And there's also room at the gate for a bicycle repair station. And then it's just a little jog down to Ogden. So we really liked this idea, but Zeph Wagner says it's too expensive now. I mean, they've already built a pedestrian refuge and pedestrian crossing on 52nd at Knapp that is for the Greenway. And he said there's really, they don't have enough money to make all these changes now at the last minute. And it's true that the Safe Routes to Schools network, of which this Greenway is part, that was all, that was the public outreach for that, and all these suggestions and changes and so on were concluded at least a year ago or a year and a half ago. And that's probably when we should have been, asking for our changes, so that then the pedestrian island could have been put at Ogden on 52nd and not at Knapp and so on. But Matthew Williams has held out hope that eventually we might be able to get the bikeway still changed in the way we want, or at least to run through the park and then on Ogden out to 52nd, and then it would go down to Knapp, I guess. But in any case, I'm not going to give up yet, but just only for the moment. One thing we can look at as far as advocacy is between 52nd and 45th is this warren of little, very narrow two-way streets. And it seems to quite a few of us that turning one or two streets, to at least two streets into one-way streets would make travel on those streets for both cars and cyclists a lot easier. They're just very narrow now. And there's parking on one side, and then if cars are going through, then opposing traffic has to pull over to the curb. And it's very awkward to make your way through those streets. So I think that we can advocate for changing the traffic directions on those streets. So that's something that we can take up soon. Something else
on that note, they have done that on, I believe it's Southeast Clinton at Chavez. That is a greenway, but also a neighborhood street, and it only supports one-way traffic for cars and two-way traffic for bikes, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay.
I'll try to send you, there's a neighbor that lives there that I know, so I'll try to send you the location, but it's an example of exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, and I see Emily agreeing here in the chat. And Stephanie, I want to shout out here, you got a comment in the chat from Maria.
I see that, Maria. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
So if you aren't getting Stephanie's emails, definitely give her your email address. They are very thorough and detailed and awesome. And I also try to post them on the website every month, usually about a week after she sends them out.
Okay, so yes, please provide me with your email addresses, and you can become an associate member of the Land Use and Transportation Committee, which means you never have to come to a meeting. You could just read our emails. You can participate at a distance and ask for things to be discussed, raise questions, and so on. So anyway, on to another point, speeding on Clavell Drive. Yet another voice has been raised. This is from Kristen Parker about the speeding on Clavell Drive. It's supposed to be 20 miles an hour, and I myself can verify that I see cars going around 50 miles an hour. I'm estimating, of course, but they're not 20. They're definitely not 20 miles an hour or even close to that. So I've learned that there's something called Neighborhood Speed Watch that is being established in certain communities or cities. And it works like the Neighborhood Crime Watch in that it's connected with the police department or another city bureau. And I am going to learn how these things work, because I think that having a neighborhood speed watch program could be very helpful to us. We don't get a lot of response from the city, or maybe any, on the subject of, or any help with the speeding problems that we experience here on 52nd and Clavell and Duke and 72nd and other elsewhere. But I think that these neighborhood speed watch programs offer a lot of promise. But to get the attention of the city, what I'd like to do is develop a plan for getting the attention of the city. And this involves having volunteers use a radar speed gun to collect speeding information on, and we'll start with Clavell Drive. I am going to buy one of these things and donate it to the Bdna, and we will start collecting information. I've got several volunteers already, and we'll use this information to make our case to the city that we need some assistance. It's not safe on the street. Kristen Parker said her neighbors moved off the street and moved elsewhere in the city because they were so afraid that their kids were going to get hit by a car. I guess they were right on Clavell. So I'm going to draw up a plan for us and seek board approval for it. But I think that we can start to take some action into our own hands, you know, instead of waiting for the city and just complaining and leaving messages at 823 safe and so on. So I'm kind of excited about this because I think we can actually bring about an effect with our having a neighborhood speed watch program. Then quickly on to number 4, PBOT's Safe Streets Initiative in response to the pandemic. We mentioned this last time that one of the things that PBOT is doing is using, is turning parts of Portland's Greenway or bikeway system into what is called slow streets, which try to deter through traffic and just admit vehicles that need to be in the area, you know, residents and delivery people, and offer the streets for walking as well as biking. And this is going well, according to Scott Cohen, who made a presentation recently at the Woodstock Neighborhood Association meeting. The other changes that PBOT is making in response to COVID-19 is to provide more space on crowded sidewalks and make it easier for people to walk 6 feet apart. So they're busy making some changes around the city that will allow people to space out on the sidewalks. And they're also supporting businesses by providing more space for pickups and deliveries, as well as places for customers to line up to pick up their purchases. So it's a 3-pronged response to the COVID-19 situation. And then finally, the last thing I'll mention tonight, and Chelsea sent me an article about this. As you may know, in the area around, I think it's the Rose Quarter, the state of Oregon has been planning to widen I-5 so we can get more cars on it and more traffic, more emissions, more congestion. And local groups, especially one called Bdna Vision, have decided that enough is enough. You know, the freeway path destroyed our largest and very thriving Black residential and business district long ago, and now we want to just continue the same old by widening the freeway. And now there's opposition, and even the Governor Brown has joined in opposing this move. And it's not just the widening. I mean, what Bdna Vision and others would like is that the freeway widening be done in a way that benefits the community. And they're envisioning that large parts of the freeway would be completely covered. So the freeway is like a tunnel. And on top of the cover, you build parks and bikeways, and you make neighborhoods connected again that have been separated by the freeway. So I think that's a lovely idea. It's a very exciting change. It's very exciting to see this opposition arising now. So we'll see what happens. But you know, I'm all for covering up the freeways myself. Okay, so that's it for the moment. There'll be a new report issued next week on land use affairs, and eventually I'll figure out how to help us have, or excuse me, I'll figure out how we can do Zoom meetings for our LUTC meetings. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Does anyone have any questions for Stephanie?
I do.
Go ahead.
I am wondering two things about the Greenway on Ogden. Is there anything that we can do to sort of, as residents, lend support to the idea of changing the route, or just weigh in? Is there someone we can talk to?
Stephanie, do you mind taking that one?
No, but you know, I have raised the matter 3 times with our contact at Peabody Zeph Wagner. He's one of the planners there, and we've gotten a cold brush off every time because we're just so late in the game. But I can talk to my colleague Matthew, who knows a lot about advocating on the transportation scene, and see if there's anything we can do. I could also ask Marty Stockton. I hate to just drop it, but Zeph's most recent brush off was so definitive. I guess is a kind way of putting it, that I kind of went into hibernation on the subject for a little while. But I am glad to keep trying, Siri. And yes, once let me talk to my colleague Matthew, and maybe we can make a plan. We would need to have residents maybe sign a petition and that kind of thing. And I know that Luke Maurer and his colleague Scott Goodman also are very interested in pushing back against the current route. So let me get going again. I allowed myself to be a little discouraged there for a while, but I can pick up the torch again. So I will keep you updated on that.
Awesome. I'm with you. So
Okay.
don't give up yet.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And what's the other point?
I was wondering, because I-5 doesn't run through our neighborhood, it seems outside of anything that we can have an influence over, but I am interested in what you just said. What can the BDNA do to support Albina?
Oh, that's a good question, and I will see. Let me see what I can find out. Yeah, and yes, it's far away from us, but it may be that neighborhood support, just even in the form of a letter, adds its little bit of weight. So let me find out. And I will let you know, and I will let the committee know.
Stephanie, we have a question in the chat if there are any updates from PBOT on Arrow Heights lid improvements.
On Arrow Heights, what? Oh,
The road wall.
Oh, this is the, okay, so not that I know of, but I will try to find out. I thought that the street, this is the street improvements, right? So I thought that we were going to begin that soon, but I will find out. So no, I haven't heard anything, but I can find out. And I will let us all know. This is Josh. Okay, Josh, do I have your email? Can you provide it?
Leah made a comment on that the I-5 corridor is a citywide, metro-wide issue, so BDNA can definitely weigh in. So.
Oh, thank you, Leah. Okay.
Yeah, we appreciate that. For those who don't know Leah, she is also a land use and transportation guru. She just is at Southeast Uplift.
Yeah, Leah's a big help to me. I'm new to Portland. I've been here for 3 years. I have everything to learn. So being on the land use committee and doing research and answering questions and so on is very helpful. You know, it's advancing my knowledge, but often I don't know. I can't answer. I don't know the answer, but I'm always willing to go out and try to find it. So, okay. So I will find out about the Arrow Heights lid improvements too. Okay. Oh, thank you, Josh. Okay.
Any other questions on land use and transportation? We are making great time this evening. All right. If you have questions that you think of later, you can email Stephanie at, is it BDNA Land Use or just BD Land Use? You remember?
Okay, wait, I'm going to tell you. It's BD Land Use.
Okay.
Yeah.
bdlanduse@gmail.com.
Yes.
I will also post that here in the chat. You can email Stephanie if you have questions you think of later or would like her to put you on the email or anything else. All right. Any other questions about land use and transportation? All right. Tina, you're up with any updates for the fall e-recycling.
Okay, so as I mentioned at the all committees meeting, I put on my community cleanup chair kind of hat, and I'm like, since we had to cancel the spring cleanup and we already have the date set aside and planned for September's fall event, as long as COVID-19 does not shut it down. So I kind of ran some numbers, made some contacts, and talked to organizations like Habitat for Humanity. We already had Green Century e-cycling for electronics, talked with Les Schwab for tire recycling, Bikes for Humanity, and several other groups. So we tentatively could run with a full event, collecting gently used furniture, working appliances, housewares, working or non-working e-cycling things, including electronic toys, consoles, cell phones, printers. The list is pretty long. Tires that are off the rim, and bike parts and bikes that just need refurbed, along with metal recycling and the normal dump run type of junk, which includes mattresses and box springs and stuff. And I submitted into our Google Docs the outline for the board to look over. And we'd have the flexibility, if we decide to do this, to have anywhere from 3 to 6 drop box, depending on how much we collect through the day as the boxes fill, whether or not we just have them hauled off or we have them hauled off and replaced. So the budget for that is all available for current board members. And if possible, I'd kind of like to get a tentative vote on this tonight, even though it wouldn't, no money would go towards it until after the next board meeting. But if it's approved tentatively, I could start doing the time intensive part, which is making the sandwich board signs and utilizing the donated vinyl to make it so that we can do that for essentially free. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, I do. Did you say that you have posted a Google Doc?
I shared it out, so I think, Chelsea, did you get a chance to share with the board members that link?
I thought I shared it out, but I'm going to go ahead and post it in the chat again.
Oh, good.
I've shared a lot of links out recently, and people have emailed me asking for those same links. So I'm wondering if there's some problems getting email through. So give me 1 second to copy this link.
Oh, okay. But Tina, even without seeing the document, I want to support your wonderful efforts. So whatever the document says, I vote yes.
Well, and the next thing is based off of their staff and their suggested maximum number of volunteers, we would still be under 25 people on site at a time at an outside event. So even if we're in phase 1 of reopening, we could still legally and safely provide this service for our community.
Okay. Even with COVID, okay.
Even if we're only in phase 1 for Multnomah County, we could still legally and safely do that with our current information on COVID. And again, none of the financial stuff would happen until the next board meeting. So if we had to, because of excessive spreading and increased numbers due to the holiday weekend that we are entering into, we'd still be able to pull the plug before putting any money down.
Okay.
Board members, would anyone like to make a motion regarding Tina's plan?
Oh, I think I move that that we proceed as Tina has recommended, that we give the green light to this so she can begin planning and making signs and so on.
Do I have a second?
Do I get to second my own thing?
You can absolutely
Okay,
second. All right, we have a motion. We have a motion on the table to support Tina's proposal, bearing in mind that COVID could change it. Motioned by Stephanie, seconded by Tina. The link for the document is in the chat. Any further discussion requested? All right, board members, is everybody ready to vote? Okay, Gail had to go, but board members, can you all see how to raise hands? Stephanie, you have a question?
I'm raising my hand.
Oh, okay. So I raise your hand. You can either raise here or raise in the chat there. See if I can raise my own hand. Okay, let's see. 1, 2. So I see eyes from me, Stephanie, Tina, Lynn, Pam. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Am I getting that right? 5. That makes quorum. All opposed, raise your hand. All lower hands here. There we go. All abstaining. All right, motion passes. Tina, go ahead and proceed with cleanup as proposed. Okay. Stephanie, do you have a question?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm trying to lower my hand. Okay.
All right.
Got it.
Anything else on cleanup? Great. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. Any other business that we want to bring up? Neighbors, this is, if you have something you want to bring up, if you have a question, if you have a project, we have not gotten through a meeting this fast in a while, so there's actually time to like do community stuff, which is fun.
So I just have a quick question. It's not anything else, but going back to the voting, for those of us who voted during the meeting, how do we know that the form was actually received? And I only ask that because my candidate statement in advance of this meeting was submitted, I thought, and then it was never received. So I don't want to have a glitch of not being certain that my ballot was actually cast.
Yeah, because that didn't come through on my end. Pam, you might check with Leah to make sure that after you submit it, it's on her end, because I don't have access to that, but she'll be able to see your email address and see if your vote came through.
And Leah's left the meeting, right?
No, she's still there.
Oh,
I think she's just off screen parenting.
okay, all right. I'll
I'm
check there later then. Thank you.
Pam, yes, your ballot was received.
Super.
Yeah, Pam, I think just my technology's got a poltergeist at this point, so.
Well, mine have had all sorts of poltergeists, so I'm double.
It's apparently
the virus.
Yeah, Emily says there should be a window that loads telling you the form is complete after you vote. Stephanie, did you have a question or comment there?
Let's see, I printed out the ballot, so I'm good on that.
Oh, excellent.
And
So
I have a box, so I'm all set.
So a reminder for anybody who may have just joined the meeting late, if you want to vote in person, the drop box will be at Stephanie's house, 5618 Southeast Malden Street, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. tomorrow, Friday, July 3rd. And voting is open online via the link that is in the chat that I will post again until Friday, July 3rd at 7 p.m. And there's the link in the chat. Anything else? Board members, neighbors? I want to thank all the neighbors who came, who it might be your first meeting, or that you have never really been around Bdna before. So we really are excited to have more neighbors. And if you are interested in participating with Bdna, but you're just not quite ready to join because we're a little scary still, you can join us at all committees. And we just tried that out last month to see how it worked on Zoom, and it was pretty good. So we're gonna keep that going. You don't have to be a board member. It is not nearly as formal as these ones because it's just a committee meeting where we talk about what's happening in the neighborhood, and it's where a lot of the events get planned and the details get hashed out. So if that's more your style, come join us. I will have that information up on the website soon, but that will be July 21st because we'll also be electing board officers there. So board members, we need at least 5 to show up. So.
Can I ask another question?
Oh, yes, please do.
Yeah, so talking about that, I would be interested in joining that meeting you were just talking about. What is your main communication platform? I'm getting a little bit lost as a newbie in all this. Sometimes it's Google Docs, then there is a Facebook site, but it's not a group. Then there's an email that I had to send to get a link to the Zoom meeting. So I'm feeling a little bit decentralized in terms of where is the main communication happening. And I'm not sure I'm getting all of the information because I'm probably using the tools not right just yet. Can you give me a little bit of an overview how you guys communicate?
Yeah, so your best sources of getting information from us are the website and the newsletter. Those I try to post as our main level of information. The reason you have to send an email to get a meeting link is because our first Zoom meeting, we got hacked, and we got hacked bad. It was so bad that I will not post the video because it is bad. It is not safe for children, and it was really, really awful. So we are extremely careful because if you are traumatized by that kind of vulgar language and things like that, it could be really upsetting for a neighbor joining their first Bdna meeting. So that's why the Zoom meeting is kind of clunky like that, is because none of us want to repeat that situation. Lynn was unfortunately present for some of that, and it was not great. So that's why the meeting link is kind of funny. But the newsletter will always come out the week before the meeting with the agenda and the information. The website has our main amount of information, and then that information automatically posts to Facebook and Twitter. So anything I post on the website shows up on our Facebook page and our Twitter feed. Okay. There's some neighborhood groups I mentioned. If you're new to the neighborhood or you're not a Facebook user, there are 2 closed Facebook groups for Brentwood-Darlington neighbors run by neighbors. They're not Bdna affiliated, but to be in them, you have to verify your address in the neighborhood and that you're a neighbor. So they're a safe space to post information like meeting links with the password, because they're closed down to a BD population. So if you would like, if you are a Facebook user and you want to know about those groups, we can definitely link you. If you search Brentwood-Darlington in Facebook, the most popular ones in the neighborhood are People of Brentwood-Darlington and Brentwood-Darlington Connected Neighbors.
Yeah, I am in both of those. Okay.
Okay. So those are neighbor-run pages, but we post information there because it's a good way to get it out. But the website and the newsletter is our main vehicle of information, but that does show up on the Bdna official website or Facebook page, which is not a group. I know, it's so complicated. And we do finally have the ability to post on Nextdoor as Bdna, which is a brand new feature. So I'm trying to keep up more there. So yeah, it's unfortunately scattered, but newsletter and website will get you 90%.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Chelsea. I appreciate it.
You bet. And if you love to do technology and do that kind of stuff, I would love a cohort to help with communications, because
I'd be happy to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you have a platform you love, I would love to pass it off to you. So
again, we can just email a little bit about it. I might have.
Yeah. I will send you my email in the chat.
Sounds good.
Do we have any other neighborhood questions or comments?
Kelsey, I might add that I recently we had 30 neighbors I mailed out to the brochure with the magnets.
For those who don't know, Derek was a board member last year. He is kind of the new neighbor greeter. He sends out brochures and magnets to neighbors who move in. Derek, you missed elections though.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So if you want to stick with us, we'll have to vote you in next month.
Okay, good deal.
Okay, all right.
May I ask a question of Derek?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Derek, hi, this is Stephanie. At the end of every month, or at the beginning of every month, let's say, can I get from you the number of houses that were sold during the previous month? If I asked you in early June, would you be able to tell me, 37 homes were sold in May?
Yeah, I could do that. If I would just ask that if you could shoot me an email.
Oh, I would.
For a prompt, and then I would just do a search, and whatever time period, I could be happy to do that.
Oh, thank you so much. I'd like to include that in my monthly LUTC report as part of profiling our neighborhood. And thank you. Yeah, I'll remind you. I don't expect you to do that. So thank you so much.
Good deal. Just one other thing, Chelsea, I wanted to ask. When we're mailing out these brochures to new neighbors, have you thought about, do we want to add some type of insert for, I don't know, the people that are slow to get on the internet about the Zoom meetings we're doing now?
That's a really great idea, Derek. Let's work on an insert letting people know what we're doing, because the brochures are not accurate right now since we're not meeting in person.
Right.
I actually really like that idea. So let's email me a reminder on that, and I'll send you a third sheet to proof, and then I'll get it printed out and delivered to you.
Okay, good deal. Great.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I want to just remind folks what our committees are. Some are more active than others. They ebb and flow, but land use and transportation is our most active committee. I would say that's followed by, well, it used to be events and outreach, but we don't get to do events anymore. So it's mostly outreach, and then emergency preparedness and sustainability, and then the parks and schools and equity and inclusion, all kind of tying together a lot right now. So we would love more board members to work on that. We would love more neighbors to work on that. You don't have to be a board member to be on a committee or show up to committee meetings. So if one of those resonates with you, we hope to see you on July 21st. And then our next board meeting will be a month from today on August 6th at 7 o'clock. And there will be a new link. So unfortunately, you'll have to get it again, but hopefully we can work through that and make getting access to meetings a little less heinous. So any other questions? Leah, are you still on board with us here?
Yes, yes, I am.
Hey. All right, do you want to say anything else about election stuff before I close up this meeting?
I don't think so. Yeah, just the ballot will close 7 p.m. tomorrow. And again, you don't have to be a board member to get involved in the neighborhood association or connect with Southeast Uplift. So yeah, we're here to support
Finishing up my Zoom meeting.
all 20 of our neighborhoods and all of the folks that live in those areas. So yeah.
All right,
Okay, so Chelsea, I have a question.
go ahead.
Okay, so actually the question is for Derek. Derek, are you going to be on the board?
Yes, if the board will have me, I'd be happy to.
Okay, well,
So Leah, do we want to add, Stephanie, is your question, can we add Derek now?
yes, I
Yes.
guess that's my question.
Leah, is it too late to add Derek? He was unable to join the meeting earlier.
I can, but the people who've already voted, I don't know if they'll be able to go back in and update the
Well, you know
ballot.
what we can do is at our first board meeting, we just vote to accept him as a board member.
Yep.
would be the easiest.
Does that work for you, Derek? Can we
Yeah,
just
sure.
vote you
Yeah,
in next month?
that's fine. In August, sure.
Cool. All right, we'll do that so we don't mess up the system that's already going.
Right. Yeah, thank you,
So
Derek.
in August, Derek,
Good.
just remind us.
Okay. Yep,
I'll remind you
okay.
also.
All right, anything else? Really want to thank the neighbors that showed up and all the board members who are returning. I will do my best to get this video posted up online because I think I figured out how to do that. And any other questions before we end the meeting?
No, thanks very much, Chelsea, for leading us through this meeting.
All right.
And Leah for her assistance.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you,
Leah.
Leah.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank
Yeah.
you all, everyone, for coming. I'm going to go ahead and let us go early. Have a great night, and hopefully see you at all committees and next month.
Good
Okay.
deal. Thank you, Chelsea, everyone.
Bye.
Okay. Good
Bye.
night, everybody. Bye-bye.